Albert Einstein once said, if the bees disappeared off the face of the earth, man would only have 4 years left to live. We are on the brink of a biological disaster. Bees, who are essential for pollinating many fruits and vegetables, have been dying off in massive numbers since 2006. Beekeepers have been losing on average around 28 to 34% of their hives every year, with some farmers experiencing losses up to 90%. Some commercial beekeepers say losses have expanded drastically in the last year, wiping out 40% or even 50% of the hives. Losses of this magnitude are not sustainable for beekeepers or the ecosystem. Bees are in such high demand they are trucked all over the country to pollinate crops. Honeybees are the most important insects to the human food chain. Their role in our diet goes beyond honey production. These tireless creatures pollinate about 1/3 of crop species in the United States. Bees pollinate about 100 flowering food crops, including apples, nuts, broccoli, avocados, soybeans, asparagus, celery, squash and cucumbers, citrus fruit, peaches, kiwi, cherries, blueberries, cranberries, strawberries, cantaloupe, melons, as well as animal feed crops, such as the clover that's fed to dairy cows. Essentially, all flowering plants need bees to survive. Bees are a highly valued resource around the world. They are prized for their honey and wax production and depended upon for pollination of many important crops. By far, the most important contribution honeybees make to modern agriculture is the pollination services that they provide. A continued massive bee die-off will imperil world food supplies and devastate ecosystems that depend on them. The loss of these creatures might rival climate change in its impact on life on Earth. Studies have shown us that there are a number of factors that are weakening the bees. We have to assist those amazing creatures that have helped our agriculture in so many years. Crop pollination by insects is estimated to be worth $19 billion to the economy of the USA. There are estimated 2.4 million hives in the United States. The increased use of pesticides, the reduction in the number of wild colonies, and the increased value of both bees and pollinated crops have all added to the importance of protecting bees. We are currently at the minimum level of bees required for food production. For the almond crops in January and February in California, 1.8 million bees are trucked to the fields from all over the United States. In January this year, the only reason the almond farmers were able to complete the pollination is because the weather was perfect. That means that in 2 months' time, we could have reached the tipping point and the bee shortage becomes very real for everyone. There is no other viable alternative to bees when it comes to pollination. There have been many research studies done into this area, but no real solution has been found, and bees are still dying at the same or faster rate as before. We need a new approach. We need the money to buy land and build beehives to create bee sanctuaries across the nation. Bees need long-lasting, undisturbed nesting sites in sunny, relatively bare patches of ground with a diversity of nectar and pollen-rich plants nearby. The greater the variety of flowering plants, the greater the number of bee species that will be attracted. One of the major risks to both bee and plant diversity is their separation through increasing fragmentation of wild, uncultivated areas. Without bees, many flowering plants fail to set seed, and without flowering plants, there is no food for bees. Leaving field margins, ditches, roadside verges, and woodland edges unsprayed with chemicals and undisturbed does much for bee conservation. Beekeeping has changed a lot in the past few decades, and the number of commercial beekeepers has declined fast. Because of the bee die-offs, commercial beekeepers are losing money, and there are no incentives for new people to get into beekeeping. The sanctuaries will allow us to conduct research and build a knowledge base that beekeepers can use to take better care of their bees, help with returning beekeeping to a profitable business, and attract new people into beekeeping. We need to concentrate on what we can do today so there will be a tomorrow. We need to help the bees gain their strength to fight another day. We are an independent research group based in Minnesota. Our passion for the environment and our business experience creates a unique mix that we believe can be used to make a difference. Much of our research and production of hives will be conducted in our 144,000 square foot facility in Minnesota. Help us make this a reality so we can help the honeybee and at the same time the health and survival of the human race. Thank you for your support.